Hi, my name is Araitasa, and today I am going to explain you my video of English 3, that is the musculoskeletal structures around the abdomen. This is a part of the volume 3, that is the trunk. So, let's start. In this introduction, in this journey, we will explore how the abdominal parts of or the pelvic cavities are supported and defined. We will analyze also the bones that form the base of the abdomen and also the upper parts of the bony pelvis that are important structures because they have a role of the inguinal ligament. That is a case of the transitional structure between the trunk and also in the lower limb. The first part are the bones that support the abdomen. We can imagine this like a large anatomical container. It was not only protect but also serve like as anchoring points for muscles like this and also as a paceways for vessels and nerves in our body. In this part, I am going to explain you this like as a upper limit that we find the diaphragm, which originates just above the three costals or the costal margin that acts as a dome separating the thoracic cavity, that is this part, and also the abdominal cavity. Due to its dome-shaped part of the abdominal cavity, it extends upward beyond the costal arch. Then we have in the next video, we can see that the costal margin is formed by the last three ribs that are the false ribs and also their cartilages that provides us like a as a rigid or a flexible support. This region not only protects like the viscera. Now I am going to put the video because you can see this is the costal margin. I say that are the formed by the last three ribs and then the three cartilages. That this provides an original flexible support. And then we have that this region not only protects the viscera like the stomach and also the different structures of our colon. Also is like a splint provides attachments for abdominal muscles like the external and the internal obliquus that we can see in this part. Then we have the posterior protagonist of this part of the anatomy are the lumbar vertebrae that their massive bodies protect the forward part and also create a solid base that supports both the weight of the trunk and the intra-abdominal pressure that we can find when we do a lot of the exercises in the gym. So we try to use, or we only use the lumbar vertebrae and also the muscles that are located in this part. Finally, we can see the lower limit, that is the pelvic bones that we can find in this part, form the lowest boundary of the abdominal cavity. This prepares the transition toward the pelvic cavity. Then, the second part is the upper parts of the bony pelvis. The term pelvis can be confusing because pelvis it refers for the body framework and also the cavity that it encloses. So it's like where, but the bony pelvis in general is made of the sacrum that is in black color in the left part of the little paper and also the two hip down bones. In the video, we can see the ilium, or that each hip bone results for the fusion of three components that are the ilium, that is the big one, that's superior, broad, and defined shape. Then we have the ischium that is in the middle, that is more robust, located in the lower and the posterior region. And then in the last part, the pubis that is more delicate, located in the inferiorly anteriorly part of our body or our hip. So, hi, well. From the ilium, I am going to explain you the ilium. In the first video, we can see the iliac ala, whose internal surface forms the iliac fossa. That is the site of insertion for the iliacus muscle that I draw it in the video. In this part, we can see the video and the fossa and then the muscle or the iliacus muscle. In the second video that is in the right part, we can see the iliac crest, which can be easily palpate of the body surface and extends to two key anatomical parts, that anatomical landmarks that are the posterior superior iliac spine and the anterior superior iliac spine. The latter is a fundamental reference point because it's for identify the beginning and of the inguinal ligament that we have in the last part of our abdomen. Then we have the pubis. The pubis has the following features stand out. The superior ramus of the body of the pubis is the first video. Then we have the here we can see the pubic tubercle, that is a very important bony prominence that serves as a sharing point for the inguinal ligament. Then we have the pubic symphysis. That is in the second video that I am going to show. Is in the middle. This part of gray color is the pubic symphysis, that cartilaginous joint that allows that both hip bones do a lot of functions in our body and contain our weight at the midline. From the pubis, in the following features stand out that we can see in the third video. That is in the right part. That is the pubic tubercle. That is a very important bony prominence. That's because it serves as a sharing point of the inguinal ligament that I draw it in this moment. And then we have the pubic symphysis. That also in this part we can see that is a like a midline point, an anatomical point, because a lot of people used to use this part to know how we can find different structures in our body. So now we have an important part that I am going to tell you like in the first part of the video, that is the inguinal ligament. Before discussing the abdominal musculature or the muscles that sustain that allows us to do a lot of functions and that are the most important structures in our body, it's essential to mention that the inguinal ligament, is a key structure in the lower region of our abdomen. But why? This ligament is actually a thick-knit band of tendinous tissues corresponding to the inferior border of the external oblique aponeurosis that we can see in this moment in the video in the right part. Also, it stands from the anterior superior iliac spine and to the pubic tubercle that act like a bridge, a little bridge that supports our weight and our muscles in this part. This is the external oblique aponeurosis and the superior iliac and the tubercle. Beneath this bridge lies a very important pathway through which essential structures travel to connect also the abdomen with diet. Medially, we have the femoral artery that I showed you in this part, that is the vein and the nerve. Laterally, we have the psoas major and the iliacus muscle that which together form the iliopsoas. In this part, we can see the vein, the artery, and also the nerve. And in this passage, makes that the inguinal ligament and true anatomical boundary. It marks the frontier between the abdomen and in the lower limb that serves as an indispensable landmark in surgery and clinical examination, because it's especially of the studies in the inguinal hernias or complications in this zone, in special in men. Then we have the posterior abdominal muscles. So after understanding the bony and ligamentous structure of the abdomen, we now that take a step further and focus on the abdominal muscular wall that we can see in the first image. These muscular formations not only define the cavity, but also participate in different movements that we do every day, like the postural support that we can see in the image, also when we breathe, and to control also the intra-abdominal pressure. The posterior abdominal muscles are very important because these muscles are arranged alongside the lumbar spine that we can see here and at the diaphragm to form the solid support that we need to do everything. The first one is the erector spinae muscles. These are a group of long and powerful muscles that originate from the sacrum that we can see here, and also the iliac crest that send to insert into the thoracic vertebrae and the posterior part of the ribs. They are involved by the thoracular fascia and also a thick tendinous sheet that not only like surrounds the structures but also serve like at the insertion side of the abdominal wall muscles that we are going to show you in the next page. In the second video, we can see the quadratus lumbar is the normal number name, is located just in front of the erector spinae, and it extends from the 12th rib and the transverse processes of the upper lumbar part vertebrae to the iliac crest at the transverse process of the L5. Its main function, we can see in this part of the video, is to contribute to the lateral flexion of the trunk and also to stabilize the lumbar spine. Then we have the psoas major and iliacus. The medial to the quadratus lumbar lies the psoas major. This muscle arises from the vertebral bodies that we can see in the first video, the discus, and also the transverse processes to the T12 to L5. It descends across the pelvis, bordering the sacrum and the sacroiliac joint to proceed toward the thigh. It closed a companion that is the iliacus, which lines the iliac fossa that we can see in this part of the video, and also together they fuse into a single muscle that is the belly that now the iliopsoas. Here we can see the iliopsoas, which passes beneath the inguinal ligament to insert into the lesser trochanter of the femur. In the second video, we can see the fossa of the ilion. Here, the fossa of the ilion. Then we have the psoas, then the iliopsoas, and the in the third video, we can see that the iliopsoas is the primary hip flexor and essential for walking, that we can see in the image, climb stairs of rising from a lying position. Additionally, this acts like a lumbar spine and it contributes to postural stability. These muscles are covered by the iliopsoas fascia, that is like white in the videos, in white color, and the peritoneus lies directly. We can see in this part in the image. Then we have the rectus abdominis. On the anterior side, the most prominent muscle is the rectum abdominis. It is like a long vertical muscle, broad out is on the upper part and then northern toward the pelvis. It originates from the costal cartilage that we can see in this part, in the second video, of the fifth and the seventh ribs, and it inserts into the pubis, specifically in the pubic crest. It is interrupted by the tendinous bands called the tendinous intersection, like are the squares, which divide the muscles in the visible segments that is popularly known like the six pack of the men that are very beautiful. And then we have the rectus abdominis flexus that we can see in the third video that flexes the lumbar spine and also counteracts the erector spinae. It played like a chaostatic role, like helping they maintain to the an upright posture by resisting the tendency of the gravity of the stand in the spine. It encloses it is enclosed by a tendinous sheet called the rectus sheath, formed by the aponeurosis and the flat muscles that we can see in the first image. This sheath has an anterior and posterior layers, and also the midline for the linea alba is the middle of the six pack and extending from the xiphoid process of the pubis. Then we have the transversus abdominis, internal and the internal oblique. The transversus is the first video and is the deepest of the flat muscles. Its fibers run horizontally, except at the lowest one, that which run oblique, downward. It originates from the inner surface that we can see here, and also of the costal arch. The thoracolumbar fascia is important because it contains the iliac crest and also the iliopsoal fascia that contains all the different structures in this part. It's like a bag, like a shopping bag of our body. It fibers end in the white aponeurosis, and also we can see in this part which fuses with the internal oblique muscle that is important for the movements of our abdomen. In the next video that we can see is the second one. Here is the internal oblique. It also originates from the thoracolumbar fascia, like the shopping bag, and the iliac crest, and the thickening of the iliopsoas fascia. Its fibers fan out the various directions, vertically ascending, and in the posterior part, descending, and in the inguinal region. It inserts into the lower ribs and also into its own aponeurosis, like the back, which together that forms the transversus forms and the tendinous complex that contributes to the rectus sheath that contains this famous six pack that we can see in this image in white color. This is the six pack. These flat muscles plays like an essential function or a role in of reinforcing the abdominal wall first. Then we have the compressing the viscera of the different structures in this part and controlling the abdominal pressure. In addition to assisting the trunk to flexion and rotation, or the different movement that we do every day, that we play music in our bed and also try to dance something. For the sternal oblique, it is the most superficial of the flat abdominal muscles if the fibers run into oblique direction. Unlike if you were putting your hands in your pockets, it's like an image of the external oblique, downwards and forwards. It originates from the fifth to the 12th ribs, and its fibers are organized into two parts: posterior part, which inserts into the iliac crest, and then the anterior part that forms the large tendinous sheath, the aponeurosis of the external oblique. This aponeurosis joins also with those of the other muscles that we can see in the video that forms the rectus sheath, and in addition, its free inferior border is none other than the inguinal ligament. In the second video, we can see that when both sides contract together, they increase the abdominal pressure, and also this helps to breathing, defecation, urination, and childbirth. If only one side contracts, it contributes to the trunk rotation and the lateral flexion. It is like a twister muscle, like the game. Okay. In the second part, we have the leaning of the abdominal cavity. In this part, we can see if we go inside the abdominal part of the abdomen, the first time that we encounter in this shiny covering is the parietal peritoneum, a serous membrane that involves the entire cavity, and also we can see that beneath it lies a layer of loose connective tissues that is called the transversalis fascia, and in the anterior region is located in the anterior region, and the iliac fascia is in the posterior region. It's like a cushion that supports the organs or and the muscles. It's like a little shopping bag here that contains our structures. Then we have the inguinal canal. The inguinal canal is like a oblique passage in the lower abdomen, just above the inguinal ligament. In men, it transits the spermatic cord, and in women, the round ligament of the uterus are important for the sexual activities. This tunnel begins at the deep inguinal ring that we can see here in the video, and ends in the superficial inguinal ring. It is bounded by the case structures like the inguinal ligament, the conjoint tendon formed by the internal oblique and transversus abdominis, and the aponeurosis of the external oblique. This is very important region because it's where when we will know inguinal hernias can occur, and this need also surgery because it's very important to act in the correct time. Now we have the spermatic cords, an important part of the sexual activities. The spermatic cord is formed as the testis descends from the abdominal part into the scrotum during the embryonic development, carrying also the blood vessels, the ducts, the deferens, and also the layers of the abdominal part. Its main components are the testicular artery, the piniform venous plexus, and then we have, and we can see here, the ductus deferens. All of these are covered like by several layers, like our little muscles and little parts of skin in this part of the main anatomy, that are the internal spermatic fascia. Then we have the cremaster muscle that allows uh, to move the different the spermatic cords. Then we have the external spermatic fascia, and it's important to know that this cord is essential to the testicles lifeline cable because the testicles move occur to the different changes of temperature in the space that we are or that they are. Now we have the arteries of the abdominal region. The great blood highway of the abdominal is the abdominal aorta. It is the bigger one in the group of the arteries, which enters from the thorax through the diaphragm that we can see there, and runs along the lumbar spine until it divides into the common iliac arteries that we can see like a V. This is the aorta, and then we have the common iliac arteries like this in this shape that we can see in this moment of the video. From it arise very important branches. We have the first one that is the celiac trunk to the liver, stomach, spleen, pancreas, and duodenum. This is the viscera or the structures that this celiac trunk irrigates. Then we have the superior mesenterical artery, that is the small one in the intestine and in the part of the large intestine. Then we have the inferior mesenteric artery that is in the distal colon and the rectum. So we have this the stomach, there we have the intestines, and then we have the distal colon that is like in this part when we with the rectum. Also, it gives the paired branches such as the renal arteries is to the kidneys, and the gonadal arteries to the ovarian and testicular parts. In the lumbar arteries are like babies of the lumbar arteries. Finally, the sternal iliac artery is continued beneath the inguinal ligament and becomes to the femoral arteries. So this we have the inguinal part, and then we have the lower limb, the veins of the abdominal region. Let's begin with the veins. The venous blood from the abdomen travels into a large blue highway that is the inferior vena cava. That is this one, the big one. So the femoral vein, which comes up from the leg, becomes the sternal iliac, and also it passes under the inguinal ligament. That is a triangle. The sternal iliac is other vein that then joins with the internal iliac vein, that is the posterior, to form the common iliac vein. Then we have that both common iliac veins merge and give rise to the inferior vena cava that is located in the last part of the body or of the trunk. Then this is a great vein that ascends along the spine from the L4 to the diaphragm and enters directly into the heart that we can see then in the video. This is the heart, and then we have the diaphragm and the vena cava, inferior vena cava. On its way, it receives the K tributaries, that is the renal veins, and on the level of the L2, then we have the hepatic veins, that is carrying blood already processed in the liver, and then we have also the gonadal veins, that are the testicular and the ovarian, that work to draining the reproductive organs. Yes. Basically, a fun fact is that the blood from the digestive organs doesn't go straight to the cava. Instead, it first passes through the liver, ileal, and to the portal vein, and also only then through the hepatic veins connects with the general circulation. That is its important part because it's like a filtration of the blood in this part before to enter in the general system of the blood. Now we have other part of the abdominal arteries, but it's located in the stomach and in the intestines. So in the image, we can see the most important or the biggest ones. These are located in the anterior abdominal wall, and so now let's look at the paper lines of the abdominal wall that are the arterial blood mainly arrives through in two pathways. That is the inferior epigastric that is located near to the intestine, short intestine, and also that branches from the external iliac artery that is located here in the right side. Then we have the superior epigastric artery that is located with the continuation of the internal thoracic artery, and both ascend and descend behind the rectus abdominis and running inside in shed. There are therefore a form of connecting the different anastomosis of a kind of arterial handshake that ensures continuous blood flow even if a pathway is blocked. The epigastric veins accompany these arteries, ensuring venous return. So they are very important to the localization or the to know where is a problem in our arteries or in our circulatory system. And finally, we have the nerves of the abdominal region. This is a biggest theme topic. So the abdomen also needs an electrical connections to connect or to do different functions in our body. So these are the nerves. We can divide them into three main groups: the nerves of the abdominal wall, the nerves of the lumbar plexus, and the automatic nerves. The first ones are in the video of the right side, of the left side. They come from the lower intercostal nerves that are the abdominal wall in T7 and T12, and they run between the internal oblique and the transversus abdominis. They provide the sensation of the abdominal skin and a motor control to the muscles. In the second video are located the nerves of the lumbar plexus and the automatic nerves. They arise from T12 and L5 and emerge around the psoas major and the subcostal nerve T2, T11, and T2. Iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal nerves that we can see in the video in this part innervate the growing, and also the genitofemoral nerve reaching the genital region and in the part of the thigh. Then we have the femoral nerve that we can see now that pass to the psoas and to the main motor of the thigh. And the obturator nerve, that is the last one, is medial and innervate the adductor muscles of the leg. Then we have the autonomic nerves The sympathetic trunk runs along the lumbar spine. Then we have the aortic plexus, distributes the sympathetic fibers to the abdominal viscera, and the vagus nerves that are parasympathetic and arrive alongside the esophagus and branch into stomach, intestines, and other organs. Together, these nerves are very important because allows us to do a lot of actions because the neurons or the nerves are not located only in our brain, are located in all of the parts of our body. So if a group of nerves or neurons fails, this provoke difficulties or problems in our normal functions. So the abdomen doesn't only have a strong muscles and powerful arteries, it also transverse blood veins and carry blood back and nerves that transmit both sensations and vital commands. It is a perfectly organized system of biological highways and cables that keeps our organs working in harmony. So thank you for joining me in this journey and pay me attention in this video and take care of you, and thank you.